Hello everyone, I have an update for you all today in the Julia Faustyna / Madeleine McCann case, as well as a small update in the Nicola Bulley case. These are two major cases right now, so let's get into the updates. The DNA results have finally come back, and it turns out that Julia Faustyna is not Madeleine McCann. Julia is now apologizing for her assumptions and wrote a 17-page statement on her social medias, being quoted saying, and I quote, "It wasn't my intention to bring sadness or any other negative emotion to anyone, especially to the McCann's family. I used this sentence to create a nickname for my old Instagram. It was my mistake and I know it, and I apologize for that because I should have used the words, am I Madeleine McCann, not I am Madeleine McCann, so it was my fault." She then added, "My main purpose was always to find out who I am and what exactly happened to me in my very hurtful past," unquote. Now, despite all of that, Julia still made a point to say that she may some way, somehow still be Madeleine McCann despite the DNA test results, which I don't know how that could be possible, but hey. I also didn't get the chance to mention that Julia actually appeared on Dr. Phil. Now, I can't show any of that footage because Dr. Phil is super strict about people reposting his content, so if you want to go look that up, I definitely recommend it. It was interesting. But when Julia was on the show, she actually ended up denying her parents' accusations that she stole her own birth certificate and childhood photos to hide her identity. And then there's this whole other mess because now, according to the proclaimed psychic Fia Johannsson, she actually ended up speaking to the UK Mirror, and they quoted her saying that she always believed Madeleine is alive, but when I flew out to Poland, I knew Julia wasn't Madeleine, unquote. She also described Julia as being a vulnerable, immature person suffering from depression and other mental health issues who was struggling to recognize who she was, and she needed to get closure. Fia Johannsson added, and I quote, "Now she is with her father. I will continue to talk to her. I believe she needs to be protected. The mother is like a poison in her life, and she could have easily done the DNA test," unquote. Also, according to Fia, who allegedly seen these DNA test results, Julia is absolutely 100% from Poland. She's a small percentage of Lithuanian and Russian, but from the test results show she's Polish and from a small town in Poland where her mother and her cousins come from. Fia also told The Sun, and I quote, "Julia has had a difficult childhood. We know she has been SA'd. She's also been very open about this, and my investigation uncovered legal records proving that this was true," unquote. It is also said that that man that essayed Julia has been jailed for his crimes. Now, on the whole other side of things, after Fia has been defending Julia this whole time, Julia has now turned around and is claiming that Fia manipulated her. According to Julia, Fia also allegedly refused to return a series of documents, in addition accusing Fia to have forced her to sign documents even though she didn't know the meaning to them, being quoted saying, and I quote, "They are not legal because I told you that I didn't understand the language of law in English and I wanted to talk to a Polish lawyer. You knew I wanted to go home and you tried to scare me by saying that if I didn't sign these documents, I wouldn't go back to Poland," end quote. So essentially, Julia is saying that Fia forced her to sign documents that she didn't understand in English, which, if that is true, that is very unethical, if not illegal, because, again, Julia's English isn't 100% great because English isn't her first language. So if she didn't understand these documents, she definitely should have had a translator there translating them for her. Julia then goes on to say that Fia is a fraud, that she never wanted to help her, and that she was essentially manipulating her sensitive situation. So this entire thing is just one big mess at this point. But I think at the end of the day, we have to consider that there's something going on with Julia. I really do hope, as I said in my previous video about her, that she does get help with whatever she needs help with, whether that be any mental health issues or if there is some way, somehow, some reasoning where she is not who her family says she is, and if she does need help and stuff like that, whatever her issues are, I do hope she does get help with them, because I don't think she's doing any of this with ill intentions. She just might be troubled and needs help. But either way, at the end of the day, I think we need to remember that Madeleine is at the heart of this case, and Madeleine is still missing, and I think that is the most important thing we need to remember with all of this. This beautiful little girl has never been found, and her disappearance has never been solved. And at the end of the day, behind all of this drama, I don't want Madeleine to get lost in all of it. Honestly, maybe it's a good thing that all of this happened, because I think it did bring Madeleine's case back to the forefront of the news, because you know, it's such an old case at this point. It's kind of like a cold case, it feels like, and there's been no real big developments in this case. So the fact that Julia bringing all of this up has even gotten me talking about it, because I don't know if I ever would have covered Madeleine's case, because it has been so heavily covered in the past. I don't really like to bring up big cases like that have been covered, because I don't think I'm going to bring anything new to the table. So maybe at the end of the day, we can see the silver lining in all of this, and Madeleine's face, her name. It's been brought up into the news again, and maybe eventually, hopefully, it could lead to the capture of her killer or her abductor or whatever happened to her. Because again, we don't even know what happened to Madeleine. All we know is that she disappeared and she's never been found. But that is the update with that. Let's move on to the Nicola Bulley case, because that is also a ginormous case right now. So in other news, on April 4th, so just a couple weeks ago, police divers returned to the River Wyre, less than a mile from the bank where Nicola's body was found. If you're not up to date with this case, I definitely recommend you go watch my coverage on Nicola's case. I did a whole timeline on her disappearance and the discovery of her body in the River Wyre. It's definitely an interesting case. It's one of these cases where there's not a whole bunch of information and there's so many theories out there. My mom actually talks to me about this case because she's very invested in it, and she has brought up honestly insane theories that she's seen people talking about online that I'm not even going to mention here because I think they're very interesting, but there's no evidence to support them, so I'm not going to bring them up until there is. But this case it's wild. It's even more wild than I've even brought up. But back to these recent developments. There were police divers in the River Wyre near where Nicola's body was found. There's people that ended up capturing footage of these divers in the water, and it said that there was a diver climbing over the wire. One had been floating on his back in the water as well, which makes me wonder if they're trying to recreate how Nicola's body could have floated to where it was found and if it was possible with the currents. But these police divers were also filmed wading through the water at different depths as well. So there's a whole bunch happening. But according to Dr. Richard Shepard, who is a forensic psychologist, he theorizes that they are searching the river again to find a specific artifact. He was quoted saying, and I quote, "I'm really struggling to see what they could be looking for now that would affect or influence the cause of death. When Nicola's body was found, it would have been taken to the morgue and a formal post-mortem would have been carried out where it would have been looked for natural diseases, any injuries, and samples would have been taken for alcohol and drugs. My feeling is they are looking for something specific. My sense is they want to be absolutely sure that something that they couldn't quite locate isn't still in the river," unquote. Now, on top of that, there was a retired Scotland Yard detective named Peter Bleskley, who also called this update unusual, saying it's extremely rare for forensic officers to be sent to a scene twice. And I mean, I can understand that because this crime scene was opened back up to the public. It was left unattended. There can be so much contamination in this crime scene now that I don't even know if any evidence they found how legit it would be. I'm sure it still could be used and processed or something, but there's always that margin there where it could be disputed because of it being found so long after. Now, it could be contaminated whether on purpose or accidentally, again, because it was opened up to the public again. On top of that, it's just honestly a really bad look for the police to see them back there searching because it kind of makes it look like they didn't do a good enough job in the first place. And this case has had so much speculation and so much heat on it for just the way everything's been conducted, and now people seeing the police back there. I mean, in one hand, it looks like they're actually still investigating, which is a good thing because I haven't seen that much on this case in the last few weeks to months, but I do find it really interesting that they've returned to look and that it seems like they're still investigating her death. So it kind of sparks this hope that maybe they will not rule it an accident because people were pretty pissed when even that topic was brought up. And if they're looking for something, it must be important that they be out there doing it. So hopefully they do find something. Again, we're still waiting for June 16th to roll around for them to do the inquest on Nicola's death investigation. But it seems in the meantime, police are still investigating, which is hopeful. It's not like they're kind of just leaving this one to, collect dust until June rolls around. But honestly, they're keeping things pretty hush-hush in this case. So in my opinion, that kind of says that there may be something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. There might be a lot behind the scenes going on that we don't know about. But what I'm really interested in is what you all think about these updates. Do you agree that the police may have a lot more information that they're not releasing to the public? And how do you feel about this whole situation with Julia and the Madeleine McCann case? Because that is a whole mess. That's a whole mess. So let's have a chat about that down below. As always, as I say, I will continue to update you all on these cases. If anything new comes up, I honestly don't think much is going to come up with the Madeleine McCann case and Julia after this because the DNA results prove that it's not her. So I don't know what else we're really going to find out about that. But the Nicola Bulley case still seems to be in full force, and I am still very interested in it. So I will continue to keep you all updated on that. But in the meantime, as I said, let's chat about it down below. I'm really curious how you all feel about these cases and these updates. And with that, if you're not subscribed, I definitely recommend you hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date in these cases, if you just want to continue to chat with me about cases that I'm interested in and cases that you are all interested in. If you have a case that you want me to cover, leave it down below and I will look into it. I've covered a bunch of cases. My last case I just posted was also a viewer recommendation case that I did, and it was extremely interesting. There are so many cases that you all are interested in that I have never heard of, so comment them down below because I want to look into them. I want to talk about things that you are all also interested in, because when you guys comment some of these cases, I start diving deep and I'm up till way too late at night researching them because I get invested. But yeah, other than that, subscribing also allows me to continue to create videos like this, spend more time creating videos like this because I also have another job. But if things pick up over here, I'll start knocking down hours there so I can spend them here with you all. And with that, I hope you all stay safe out there. Remember to lock your windows and doors, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.